Have you ever caught yourself missing someone who once shattered your heart? One moment you're angry, thinking about everything they did wrong, and the next moment you're lost in memories, wondering if you'll ever feel that connection again. Sounds confusing, right? But trust me, you're not alone. It's one of the most silent struggles people go through, missing someone who actually caused them pain. You ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Am I being weak? Shouldn't I hate them by now? These questions can eat you up inside, making you feel guilty for simply being human. In this video, we are going to break the silence around this emotional conflict. I'll walk you through 7 deep, honest reasons why it's perfectly normal to miss someone who hurt you, and why those feelings don't make you broken, but beautifully human. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand yourself better, but you'll also feel stronger, wiser, and more in control of your emotions. So, if you've been secretly battling with these feelings, stay with me till the end. This might just be the most freeing truth you've been waiting to hear. Missing someone is a sign of your emotional depth. It might seem counterintuitive, but missing someone who caused you pain can actually be a testament to your emotional depth and not a reflection of weakness. Human emotions are rarely black and white. When we care deeply about someone, those feelings don't disappear the moment they hurt us. Instead, what happens is a conflict between logic and emotion. The logical part of you knows they were not good for you, but the emotional part still remembers the connection, the good times, and the closeness you once shared. This emotional contradiction is normal. It reflects your ability to form deep attachments and to genuinely care for people. Often when someone has been a big part of our daily lives, someone we texted, laughed with, made plans with, their sudden absence creates an emotional void. And when that void is left unfilled, your mind naturally gravitates toward what used to be there. You start to miss not just them as a person, but the version of you that felt safe, happy, or understood, even if that comfort was only temporary or partly an illusion. Moreover, your ability to miss someone who hurt you shows that you are emotionally complex. You don't just shut people off. You process, reflect, and feel the full weight of your experiences. This is a gift, not a flaw. Emotional depth allows you to grow from pain, to evolve through reflection, and to eventually choose better. Instead of rushing to forget or shame yourself for missing them, recognize it as a sign of your humanity. Real healing happens when you embrace your emotions with compassion, not criticism. Missing them doesn't mean you're going backward. It simply means you are human and your heart is still healing. Emotional memories don't just disappear. Your brain is a powerful machine, but it's not a delete button. Emotional memories, especially the ones tied to love, intimacy, and shared vulnerability, don't just vanish because someone caused you pain. In fact, it's often the intense relationships that stay with us the longest, not because they were good, but because they were emotionally charged. When you remember someone who hurt you, your mind isn't necessarily longing for the pain. It's reacting to the strong imprint they left behind. This is where nostalgia can become misleading. You may recall the way they smiled at you or the warmth of their presence in happy moments. You might think about your shared routines, morning calls, inside jokes, favorite songs. These memories feel comforting, even if the relationship overall was painful. That's because our minds often hold on to emotional highs more vividly than the lows. This phenomenon is called rosy retrospection, where we remember the past as better than it actually was. This can be dangerous if you're not mindful, because it can trick you into questioning your decision to leave or move on. But understanding that emotional memories are natural can help you detach with more peace. The brain doesn't distinguish between a good memory and a toxic person. It just remembers intensity. What you must do is acknowledge these memories, feel them, but not act on them. Don't reach out just because a good memory surfaced. Instead, take it as a sign of how deeply you once felt and how much healing you're capable of. Let the memory pass like a wave. No resistance, no shame. With time, the frequency and strength of these memories will fade, and you'll begin to remember not just the highlight reel, but the full picture, including why you walked away in the first place. Attachment and love are different things. One of the biggest emotional mistakes we make is confusing attachment with love. When you miss someone who hurt you, it's very often the attachment you're missing, not the person themselves. Attachment forms when two people build consistent habits together. It becomes a psychological loop, reinforced through routines, emotional exchanges, physical intimacy, and shared experiences. Over time, your brain connects their presence with comfort, even if that presence was toxic. This confusion deepens when we use the word love too loosely. Love, in its true form, involves mutual care, safety, respect, and emotional nourishment. It uplifts you, helps you grow, and makes you feel seen and supported. Attachment, however, can be born from fear, insecurity, or trauma bonding, where we feel drawn to someone because of emotional intensity, not emotional safety. Let's take a moment to think honestly. Did they consistently value your feelings? Did they respect your boundaries? Were they willing to change or grow with you? If the answer is no, then what you're experiencing is likely the withdrawal symptoms of detaching from an emotional addiction. It's hard, it's painful, and it feels like loss, but it's not love. It's the mind missing a habit, a routine, or a chemical rush that came from unpredictability and drama. When you understand this distinction, you gain emotional freedom. You stop glorifying the pain and start reclaiming your peace. You begin to realize that you deserve healthy love. Love that doesn't confuse you. Love that doesn't make you feel unworthy. And in time, that realization becomes your turning point. So yes, you may still miss them, but now you know it wasn't love that kept you there. It was the illusion of it. It's part of the grieving process. People often associate grief only with death, but emotional grief is just as real, especially after the end of a significant relationship. When someone who mattered to you leaves your life, whether through breakup or betrayal, you don't just lose a person. You lose a lifestyle, a future you imagined, a routine, a version of yourself that existed with them. That loss triggers a grieving process that unfolds in multiple stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and eventually acceptance. When you miss someone who hurt you, it may simply mean you're somewhere in that grieving cycle. Some days you may feel angry about the way they treated you. Other days you may long for the good moments. These emotional fluctuations are not signs of weakness. They are signs of emotional healing. Think of grief like waves in the ocean. Some waves are small and gentle, others crash into you without warning. but over time, they calm. You learn how to swim through them rather than drown in them. One key part of this grieving process is emotional dissonance, the ability to hold conflicting truths at the same time. You can acknowledge that they hurt you and still miss them. You can feel betrayed and yet yearn for their voice. This is emotional complexity, and it deserves compassion, not judgment. To move through grief, allow yourself to feel the full range of emotions without trying to control or suppress them. Journal your thoughts, talk to someone safe, or sit with your feelings in silence. The more you resist grief, the longer it stays. But when you allow it to flow naturally, you begin to make peace with the loss, and eventually you'll no longer miss the person. Instead, you'll cherish the lessons and walk forward with grace. Your mind craves closure. One of the most difficult aspects of any painful relationship ending is the absence of closure. You might find yourself missing someone who hurt you simply because your mind never got the answers it desperately wanted. Closure is what allows your brain to finish the story, to understand why things ended the way they did, to process what went wrong, and to walk away with emotional clarity. Without it, your mind keeps revisiting old memories, trying to fill in the blanks, trying to find an explanation that makes sense. This lack of closure often keeps you emotionally tied to people who were never good for you. You may replay conversations in your head, overanalyze situations, or even create imaginary scenarios where you finally get to say what's on your mind or where they apologize. But here's the truth. Sometimes closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. Some people will never offer apologies. They may walk away without explanation, leave your messages unanswered, or even rewrite the narrative to make themselves look like the victim. Waiting for closure from them can trap you in an endless cycle of emotional pain. Instead, you must make peace with the fact that closure is a gift you give yourself. You close the chapter by accepting you won't have all the answers, and that's okay. You don't need to understand every detail to move on. You need to remind yourself why you left, why you deserve better, and why your healing matters more than their explanations. By doing this, you take back your power. You free your heart from the toxic loop of false hope. The next time you feel like missing them, tell yourself, I'm not waiting for their apology to move forward. You'll realize you can miss someone, but still close the door for your own peace of mind. Your heart needs time to recalibrate. Healing is not a race. It's a personal journey that unfolds in waves, and your heart deserves the time it needs to recalibrate. When you've shared a deep connection with someone, your emotional system becomes used to their presence. Their calls, messages, and even their patterns of behavior, good or bad, become part of your internal rhythm. So, when they leave, or when you end things, your heart feels confused, like it's lost its rhythm. This creates emotional withdrawal symptoms, similar to detoxing from an unhealthy addiction. It's important to understand that missing them doesn't always mean you want them back. Sometimes your heart is simply adjusting to the silence, to the absence of someone who used to fill your thoughts and days. This recalibration process takes time because your emotional habits don't change overnight. You're teaching your heart to feel safe without them, to find happiness in your own presence, to create a life that doesn't depend on their attention or validation. During this time, you may feel a roller coaster of emotions, moments of strength followed by sudden waves of longing. This is completely normal. Emotional recalibration means you'll have days when you feel empowered and days when you feel weak. The key is to stay consistent with your healing practices, cutting contact, establishing new routines, engaging in activities that make you feel alive, and surrounding yourself with supportive people. Every time you resist the urge to reach out, you strengthen your emotional muscles. Every time you create joy without them, you rewrite your heart's programming. Eventually you'll wake up one day and realize you no longer miss them, not because you forced yourself to forget, but because your heart found a better rhythm, one built on peace, self-love, and healthier connections. Growth comes from facing the truth. The final and perhaps most powerful reason it's okay to miss someone who hurt you is because it shows you're growing. Growth doesn't mean you'll never feel pain or longing. It means you face those emotions head-on instead of running away. Every time you acknowledge your feelings without judgment, you become more emotionally mature. You realize that healing isn't about erasing the past, but about learning from it. Facing the truth means accepting all parts of your experience, the good moments, the terrible fights, the brief joys, and the deep wounds. You no longer idolize them, nor do you completely hate them. You understand they were both a lesson and a chapter, not your whole story. This level of self-awareness is where true growth happens. You realize you don't need to rush to move on or pretend you never cared. You can honor your feelings, miss them sometimes, but still choose your own well-being every single day. Growth also teaches you boundaries. You reflect on what you tolerated and promise yourself you will never settle for the same again. You understand what healthy love looks like, and you raise your standards. You forgive yourself for the times you stayed too long or ignored red flags because you recognize you were doing your best with what you knew then. That compassion for yourself is real growth. Eventually you see that missing someone is just a temporary emotion, but choosing yourself is a lifelong decision. You feel empowered knowing that you can miss them without taking them back. You can feel the sadness without letting it define you. You can outgrow the pain and step into a version of yourself that's wiser, stronger, and more loving toward yourself. And that's the ultimate transformation, becoming someone who honors their feelings but refuses to be trapped by them. In the end, the truth is simple. Your heart is allowed to feel everything. You are allowed to miss them, to think about the memories, to replay those happy moments. You are allowed to feel sad, to feel nostalgic, even to shed a few tears. But you are also allowed and fully capable to outgrow those feelings. You are allowed to move on. You are allowed to heal. Missing someone who hurt you doesn't make you weak. It makes you beautifully human. It means you are someone who loved with an open heart, someone who invested deeply, and someone who knows how to feel. But now it's time to feel something even greater: self-respect, peace, and freedom from the chains of painful love. Every time you miss them, remind yourself, I miss the good moments, not the person who hurt me. I miss the laughter, not the lies. I miss connection, not the chaos. This distinction will help you separate emotion from reality. Your story is far from over. This pain is not your ending. It is the beginning of a stronger, wiser, and more powerful version of yourself. Let this missing feeling be the fuel to grow, to learn, and to rise higher. You are walking away from the pain and walking into your freedom. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your happiness. And soon you will look back and smile, not because you miss them, but because you finally found yourself. If you're ready to love yourself more than any past pain, stay strong. Your best chapter is waiting for you.